Sometimes when I go to horse sales, I see horses that have been neglected for years. When I first saw this pony, I realized that he was having a lot of trouble eating. Upon closer inspection, he had pus draining from his jaw. He was also emaciated and covered in lice. While I don't usually purchase ponies at auction, on this day I decided to take this guy home with me. After I paid for him, I noticed his feet were also foundered, but once I got him home, I started his recovery. I crossed my fingers that I wasn't too late to help him and started right in on the refeeding process. He was given a diet of soaked alfalfa pellets and also soaked beet pulp. The first couple days of the refeeding process, especially on an old horse like this, can be really nerve-wracking. Even though this guy still had a lot of pain, he was able to eat for a few days and gained a little bit of strength. He was out of immediate danger. He got a bath to get rid of his lice. Even though it was already spring, he still had a very long hair coat, and after a while I decided just to shave it to get rid of the rest of the lice. He got fed multiple small meals every single day, and pretty soon he started to flourish. I was also able to trim his feet and get his mane and tail combed out. I was dreading what the veterinarian would say about his jaw and that I would have to put him down. Luckily, we were able to extract several broken teeth and disinfect a draining tract that has been going through his jawbone for a couple years. Although he wasn't out of the woods yet, I could see a sparkle beginning to come back to his eye. I continued the refeeding process, and in a few months he was looking better. He was still getting used to being able to eat without pain, but he was absolutely loving his special mash that he would get twice a day. I tried my very best to keep his beautiful mane out of his food, but it proved to be a little bit tricky. Although this guy was recovering from his broken teeth and jaw, he still had a lot of body soreness. The vet estimated his age somewhere between 30 and 40 years old. I built him a private run so he could move his old bones as much or as little as he wanted. In addition to his special mashes, he also got his meals balanced with all the vitamins and minerals his little body needed. As time went on, he started feeling much better, and he even began to trot around his little pen and develop a little bit of sass. After this cheeky little fellow let his personality shine through, I decided to call him Nigel. This little chap was a stallion, but due to his age, we decided to leave him intact. Besides a few stray knickers here and there, he was actually very well behaved. As spring turned into summer, Nigel's pen grew a little bit of grass, and he was so excited. I was a little bit worried due to the prior problems with his feet that this might not be the best for him. After a few days on grass, he did develop a little bit of laminitis. Even though he was emaciated when I got him, he still had a very crusty neck, as well as a few fat pads around his body that are indicative of an insulin-resistant horse. This condition improves with exercise, and he needs to be on a very strict diet. It is difficult to see in the videos, but Nigel does have a fallen crest. It has gotten so much better since I bought him at the horse sale, but it is something that will probably never go away. Since Nigel was a stallion, it was hard for me to find a companion for him. He was doing better than I could have ever imagined when I saw him at the sale. He will need a pretty high level of care for the rest of his life. When I picked him up, I really thought that he probably wouldn't live very much longer. But since he recovered so well, I decided that it's only right that I keep him. Over the summer, he really enjoyed being in his stall in front of the fan. He got lots of baths to try and tame his wild mane. And by the time fall rolled around, he was looking like a completely different horse. As Nigel settled into his new life, I often caught him napping in his little turnout pen. Even with no herd mates to watch out for him, he felt perfectly comfortable, totally falling asleep. I even caught him dreaming and moving his little lips and his ears around. When I pick up a horse like Nigel from a sale, I try really hard not to judge the previous owners. But the level of neglect that Nigel suffered before I got him is unacceptable. This sweet little pony could have easily died if he had made it into the wrong hands at the sale that day. Something that happened unexpectedly was that Tiny really took a liking to Nigel. She has always been really friendly to all the horses, but for some reason she knew that Nigel needed a friend. If he ever started looking blue, she would go over and try and snuggle him. Tiny is a very persistent cat, and every couple days I noticed that she would try to convince him that they needed to be best friends. Maybe it's because Nigel is so small, but Tiny treated him just like another cat. Tiny is a pretty independent feline, so it was really surprising me to see her spending so much time with this little pony. She was extremely persistent about trying to get Nigel to snuggle her and play with her. She would stand on the railing while he took naps and then hunt for mice in his pen during the day as well. It was super cute to see them really starting to get along, even though Nigel was still resisting her love a little bit. I could tell that Nigel really would probably prefer another equine companion. Every once in a while he did seem a little bit down, but for the most part he was a super sassy, healthy little pony. Every winter he gets this crazy coat. He looks like a little woolly mammoth. Eventually, I introduced him to my older gelding, Frisco. Both of them are pretty sassy old guys, so I was a little bit worried that they might not get along, but they became fast friends. Now that Nigel was healthy and he had another horse friend, I could definitely tell that he was feeling like a much younger horse now. It has almost been 3 years since I bought Nigel at the horse sale. Every winter that rolls around, I do get a little bit worried about Nigel. And as the snow comes, he reminds me that he is still one tough little dude.
Come on, little pony.
He still likes being outside more than he likes being in the stall. He still grows an extremely thick hair coat every winter. But this winter we had some really, really cold temperatures, so I decided to go ahead and put a blanket on him. He looked so unimpressed by the whole situation, but I think he really needed it for the cold snap we had. It is so satisfying to shed this guy out when the spring finally hits. Taking responsibility for a senior horse like this that hasn't been taken care of properly for many years can be a huge undertaking. Nigel's little body is finally starting to wear out, and as they say, time waits for no one. I am really grateful that I found this little horse at the sale that day. Having him at the barn definitely brings a little something special that none of the other horses have. I still catch him and Tiny together snuggling almost every single day. Recently, he has started to lose a little bit of his vision. I know this little horse is not going to live forever. I tweak his diet every now and then and feed him special supplements to help him stay comfortable in his old age. He won't ever have to worry about going to an auction again, and he can live out the rest of his days with his favorite cat friend. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.